Today is Wednesday, December the 5th, 2018. Hello, and welcome to Weekly Astrology Notes for the week of December 6th through the 15th, 2018. And before we start, I just want to let folks know that I am a practicing astrologer, and if you're interested in getting a reading from me, please contact me at mobilestar7@yahoo.com or through my weblog or my website, and I'll leave links in the description. And introducing mini readings for $35. It's ongoing, not just for the month of November. I've been doing a lot of them lately, and they seem to be the perfect choice for folks looking to get an introduction to my reading style and what I can provide. They are phone consultations lasting 1 hour. We discuss your natal chart and or your transits. And please note, I can also work with Skype just in case you are far away and want to avoid phone charges. I'm also available for long-distance Reiki healings, guided meditations, and even psychic readings. And the cost of those is only $25, and they last about a half an hour. Okay, so for the week ahead in astrology. Okay, so as you may have noticed by now, I'm back to the old naming convention of weekly astrology notes, but the new reports are going to follow the moon cycle. So it'll be one report for each quarter. So this is the first quarter report for the new moon on December the 6th. So this week, Mercury goes stationary direct. It's going to be Thursday morning on the 6th, just before the new moon. And it's going to still be in Scorpio until Thursday the 12th, which is most of this first quarter. And will be in the shadow degrees until Christmas Day. Now, it's been a rather strong retrograde period for Mercury. Retrograde in Sagittarius gave us undisciplined thinking. And in Scorpio, we kind of got obsessed over a single issue. It has brought about a lot of introspection and internal adjustments and rearranging, upgrades to our thinking over the past week. And in politics, which is ruled by Mercury, the tension has been building all week long ever since Trump tweeted, "Trials for treason." And the Huber investigation into the Clinton Foundation is headed for a congressional hearing. And George H.W. Bush passes away. I'll go over his transits at the end, along with several others, with a little follow-up to my Jupiter and Sagittarius video where I pointed out certain people and nations we should be looking at to get an idea of what Jupiter's going to be doing in Sagittarius. Well, now that the retrograde period is over, the period of doubt and rethinking is over, and we're ready to move forward with more confidence. Over the next 6 days, while still in Scorpio, we're more careful with our words. We understand the power of our words and are better able to stand up for ourselves and our opinions, and basically use our words better to our own advantage. We're able to speak with authority and dignity and not get pushed around so easily. This will bring a feeling of inner fortitude and resourcefulness. We're more passionate about our ideas and ready to take vital actions to correct problems, both in ourselves and in society as a whole, because Scorpio is concerned with the collective. So we're not going to be interested in superficial opinions this week. We're going to want to dig deep. We're better able to understand the inner workings of our own mind and those of others. It's going to bring about more thoughtful direction. And most importantly, we're more concerned about the state of the community, what we hold in common. It's going to bring a desire to get involved in improving conditions in the community, participating in community efforts. So lots of serious talk over the next 6 days. And now is a much better time to start making holiday purchases now that the retrograde period is over. And on Friday, the 7th, we've got Mars conjunct Neptune. And that's going to coincide with Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. And it's kind of interesting that Mars is represented by the military, and Neptune is about reclaiming lost elements of self, often involving remembrance. So thinking about those who have passed. So it's kind of perfect that that aspect would be happening on that Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. And this Mars conjunct Neptune is going to strongly affect the new moon. And it's the only planetary aspect this week. So we start this report late in the evening on Thursday, December the 6th, with the new moon happening actually in the last hour of the day, and it'll be Moon conjunct Sun at 15 degrees, 7 minutes of Sagittarius. And in Sagittarius, it's sure to be an expansive time, more activity and movement, lots of growth in our lives. And remember, as I pointed out in that Jupiter and Sagittarius video, the term growth in astrology generally relates to the action of movement. So that's just kind of a little insight into this energy that we're getting into this month, where we're really going to be putting ourselves into a lot of action and moving. Lots of optimism, positive thinking, putting your best foot forward. And Jupiter and Sagittarius is kind of boisterous and extravagant, loud. It's perfect for all the singing we do this time of year. As well, desire to spend a lot of money. This year we're more principled about life than in past years because Jupiter is now in Sagittarius. So it's somewhat of a return to traditional values with regards to this time of year. But the real big story with the new moon is these squares you'll see to Mars and Neptune. They're very close, from 15 degrees Sag to 13 degrees of Pisces. Now, I've spoken about the Sagittarius to Pisces square many times in the past, and how it enables us to overcome limitations due to ever-expanding qualities of these two signs. Sagittarius expands, and Neptune has no boundaries. And what this means psychologically is, when we look at what these terms associated with the signs tell us, Sagittarius says, I perceive. But that perception is limited to what it can see with its eyes, what it's seen in the past. It's kind of limited to physical sight. But Pisces says, I believe, and does not need to see in order to believe. They can just go on faith. So this square enables us to move forward on faith, even though we may encounter things we don't see or we haven't seen in the past, things for which we do not have enough perspective or understanding on. That Pisces energy enables us to move forward, to kind of cross that threshold into the fourth quadrant here, because this square sits at the threshold of the fourth quadrant. And it enables us to move forward even though we haven't seen things that we would like to have seen in the past. It gives us faith. And most of all, it enables us to chart new, undiscovered territory in life, create new experiences for ourselves, and most of all, expand our consciousness beyond current limits. And this is just a taste of the Jupiter square Neptune that is coming next year. Aspect I'm really going to be excited about, talking more and more about that as they get closer. This expansion of consciousness, it's very important at this critical juncture, as Jupiter has just begun a new cycle in Sagittarius. So the impulsive, restless energy that you feel now is because you sense this need to expand your consciousness. Travel more, let go, and trust in the universe. You need to go on faith simply because your past experiences haven't given you enough options that you can see. You may not see all the things you can do because your experiences haven't given you enough. So really, we need to go on faith. And the best way to do this is through conscious activity designed to get you more connected to the rest of humanity. So humanitarian acts of kindness, service to others, making beautiful art or music, something to make the world more beautiful. Or maybe through meditation, seeking a direct divine connection. That too is Pisces. Or just anything that gives you more faith, more Pisces. It's really a desperate grasp for Pisces, which of course you can never truly grasp because it's like a cloud. But we got to try anyway. It's like you're reaching for clouds. You may feel religious or philosophical fervor or inspiration, and that too helps you make a connection, helps you cross that bridge between what you see and what you don't see. And of course, the temptation for some is to use drugs or intoxicants to build that bridge from Sagittarius to Pisces, which would be a terrible waste of this wonderful energy. Another thing to watch out for is people expecting others to perceive as they do, pushing their invalid, superstitious beliefs onto others, insisting that other people believe they're Pisces or accept it, their superstitions. And that's always due to a lack of Pisces on their part, a lack of faith. So really, you want to avoid confrontation. We're all too shy and sensitive for that right now. The Mars-Neptune energy, even with Pisces in there, we really don't like to be confronted at all. So try to dissolve any aggression that comes your way through peaceful discussion. And it's really important to demonstrate humanitarian behavior. After all, it's the season of giving. And really, it's time to call upon God in your life, whatever you perceive that to be. Whatever it is that connects you to the rest of humanity, gives you that direct divine connection. And of course, remember that in Pisces, we're all extra sensitive because we've got the moon square Neptune within this new moon configuration. So that's going to make us all really sensitive this month. So be gentle with yourself and others. That alone could do wonders in realizing the positive energy of this combination. You may also experience a greater sensitivity to animals and even to nature spirits and elemental beings. Also note that the Mars conjunct Neptune means energy level is kind of low this month, and you should not put any undue stress or strain on your physical body. You may need to overcome limitations to your beliefs, but this is not the month to test your physical limitations. You want to go easy on yourself and don't try to live up to unrealistic expectations. Relaxation is important this month. To Friday, December the 7th, we got Moon in Sagittarius all day, and in the morning, Mars conjunct Neptune at 13 degrees of Pisces. So Mars dives really deep into the Pisces energy today. So you may feel kind of low on energy, no willpower, can't stand up for yourself, may feel just like sleeping in. Energy dissolves quickly and it's hard to get going. Feeling rather dreamy, superstitious behavior patterns emerge. Doing things that don't seem to make practical sense, kind of inexplicable behavior. Mars in Pisces acts like a chameleon. Very compassionate one minute, the next restless and aggressive. You may get great flights of the imagination or psychic impressions. Feel a divine presence around you. Neptune in Pisces is the non-material realm, so you may feel curiously detached from physical reality today, kind of absent-minded. So with any precise work, you'll probably need to go over the details more than once, and be careful working with machinery or things that could cause an accident. With these squares to the new moon still in effect, be careful while driving. Thankfully, Mercury is direct now and in Scorpio. That should help to alleviate that a little bit. And the energy of Neptune and Pisces is like an ocean. It's all around us. And we feel the subtle vibrations from currents far away in the distance. It's hard to know the difference between your feelings and those of someone else. We absorb energy from the environment. In this case, Mars energy, which is aggressive. So it's easy to absorb that aggressive energy, and we're tempted to fight battles that are not our own. So avoid letting others take advantage of your easygoing nature or willingness to help. You may need to draw a mental boundary around yourself to avoid problems. And of course, meditation is always a good way to make peace with the cloudiness around you. Take it easy with yourself. Your energy level is low, and you should not put any stress or strain on your body. It's not a time to test your limitations. Really not a time to confront others either. So avoid confrontation. We're all too shy and sensitive for that now, and it's really easy to hurt someone's feelings. Try to dissolve any aggression through peaceful discussion. Important to demonstrate humanitarian behavior and show a certain detachment. Not a good time to make decisions. Thinking is delusional, and there's always something that you're missing with Neptune in Pisces. And Mars in Pisces is restless. So some folks may get some really big ideas that are just not based in reality, especially with the square to the new moon. So avoid coming to conclusions or making big decisions. Really poor financial judgment, and don't try to live up to unrealistic expectations. Just kind of enjoy that cloudiness. It can be very inspiring if you just let it flow. Okay, moving into Saturday, December the 8th. We start in the middle of the night with Moon trine Uranus. Benefits come from finding your inspiration and motivation for yourself and for others. Ambitious, desire to lead the group, maybe start a new project, and there's lots of creative energy in these fire signs. And then still early in the morning, the moon enters Capricorn, after a short void, of course. Emotions tend to be centered around survival and career concerns for the next couple of days. Not as emotionally available for the outside world. Rather harder to think about non-material concerns. More concerned with duty and responsibility and mundane reality. And then just before noon, we've got the moon sextile Venus. Benefits come from relating to others. So you want to avoid isolation now if you can. It's a good time for social events, and relationships are better now. In the evening, we've got the moon conjunct Saturn in Capricorn. Emotions contract. Time for reevaluating your situation, collecting your thoughts, thinking about where your life is going. It's a quiet time. Avoid distractions and superficial topics. It's a good time for therapy and meditation and discussing important issues, maybe with a trusted friend or an advisor. It's good to stay in the present moment and avoid sinking into pessimism. Moving along to Sunday, December the 9th. We start in the morning with Moon sextile Neptune. Very dreamy in the morning. Probably want to sleep in. More sensitive to the vibrations around you. Time to be more aware of how others feel and show more discretion, more caring, more consideration towards others. Benefits come from feeling a connection to the non-material things in life, your hopes and dreams, and that's where all that compassion comes from. So it's important not to be confrontational during these times, but rather receptive towards others. We're dreamy, it's good for quiet time, and you want to avoid disruptions. And then a little later in the morning on Sunday, the moon sextile Mars should get us going. Benefits come from directing yourself. And with the sextile, you need to be consciously aware of what's going on around you. Paying attention to your surrounding environment. And you will naturally lead yourself to better circumstances. You just got to be paying attention. Maybe opportunities to help others who genuinely deserve it. And that's the sextile from Capricorn to Pisces. And then later in the evening, we've got the moon conjunct Pluto. Benefits come from staying focused and keeping your energy flowing and positive. The most important thing to do during the moon conjunct Pluto each month is to avoid stagnation. As well, that'll help you avoid resentment or avoid getting fixed on a particular thought to the detriment of everything else in your life. Going through a death rebirth process right now, and it enables you to establish a new base emotional state, going from negative to positive. But in order to do that, you've got to just keep moving and express the energy in a productive way. Lots of passion and stamina, able to focus and do whatever needs to get done, able to attend to your most vital concerns, things about money and survival. It's good for home cleaning and repair and fixing, upgrading, whatever needs to be done at home. As well, there's always more sexual energy now, and you want to avoid emotional entanglements. Do not tempt the volcano, Stay away from anything underhanded or deceptive. Moving along to Monday, December the 10th. We start in the early afternoon with the moon sextile Mercury. Benefits come from careful or masterful use of your communication skills. Makes us resourceful. You can think on your own. That's that Scorpio to Capricorn energy. It's really good. Able to make a breakthrough. And able to consider the facts and come to a good decision. Good time to consider business decisions. Have business negotiations or business meetings. And there may be opportunities for material gain. So a good time for a business lunch on Monday. And then in the early afternoon as well, Moon square Uranus. Heightened awareness of our social condition makes us restless, and rebellion can lead to a loss of reputation. Makes us impulsive and want to jump to erroneous conclusions. So it's not a good time for social interactions or to make important decisions, and it brings surprises. And then we've got a short void of course until the moon enters Aquarius later in the afternoon. Activities tend to be focused more on social obligations over the next couple of days. We're feeling liberated, and you need to go your own way. We're uninhibited. Good time for social activities, and benefits come from group activities. Moving along to Tuesday, December the 11th. We start in the middle of the night with Moon square Venus. Fixed attitudes inhibit communication because it's in fixed signs, Aquarius and Scorpio. As well, brings up a desire to keep secrets. Not a good time for social interactions, and you want to avoid emotional entanglements. And then still in the morning on Tuesday, we've got the moon sextile Jupiter. Inhibitions subside. Feeling liberated. Desire to stretch, as well as to be in a crowd. Benefits come from expanding your horizons, meeting new people, maybe an important social or professional connection. Excellent for social endeavors, business meetings and things like that as well. Folks are open-minded and idealistic. Brings a lot of bright ideas, and it's a good time for business. Moving along to Wednesday, December the 12th. We start in the mid-morning with the moon sextile sun. Oh, wonderful time of day for this aspect. Going to be rather creative in the morning on Wednesday. You always want to be sure to remember the trines and the sextiles, just as important as those squares and oppositions, because it's always a time of good psychological health. Inhibitions subside, and we can let our creativity flow easily. In these signs, Aquarius and Sagittarius, it's a great aspect for yoga. You're able to stretch and move more easily now. Desire to build community with a shared philosophy. Benefits come from participating in group activities, so important to be with others at this time, even if it's just one other person. It's good to share energy with others at this time. And then Mercury enters Sagittarius on Wednesday. Okay, so it returns to Sagittarius. And we'll still be in the shadow degrees where we were before the retrograde, up to 13 degrees on December the 25th. And Mercury in Sag brings a lot of optimism, optimistic thinking, thinking big. Thinking expands to include more factors. You start connecting the dots and seeing patterns emerge in the environment. It's mentally stimulating. It makes for lively philosophical discussions. It's easy to get carried away with your own ideas and kind of not interested in the details. Undisciplined thinking and speaking as well. You know, Mercury, it rules Gemini, so it's in Sagittarius. Although it's a very happy place to be, it is fallen for Mercury. So it kind of brings in the negative side of Sag, which wants to avoid work and responsibility, and that's where that undisciplined behavior from Mercury in Sagittarius comes from. So you might say something that you otherwise wouldn't, be too blunt. But it helps to overcome rigid thinking patterns, able to forgive and to move on. brings a need to interact with people who share the same religious or philosophical perspectives, as well as people with similar professional interests. So it really is a good time for business. And I am noticing that the Mercury retrograde over the Sun and Jupiter in the early degrees of Sag really made the entrance of Jupiter into Sag seem to go on for a longer period of time. Mercury acts a bit like the Sun in that it announces the arrival of Jupiter in Sag, and it brings with it an extra dose of hope and enthusiasm to go along with the new Jupiter cycle, and hopefully more announcements about justice and a return to principle and higher moral standards. And this is a good moment to mention changes happening within religious or spiritual organizations. I did mention this in the Jupiter and Sag report, and basically, for the past 3.5 years now, all things Sagittarius have gone through a rebuilding cycle with Saturn and Sag, and that was followed by a death cycle with Jupiter and Scorpio. So this has cleared out the upper ranks of the churches, and most of the quality people were pushed aside during that time. Well, now religious organizations experience a rebirth, a new life, new ideas, from new people coming back into the fold now that 3.5-year period of upheaval and reconstruction is over. Mercury's second entrance into Sagittarius, soon to be followed by the third conjunctions to Sun and Jupiter, is going to bring announcements and speeches about a return to the founding principles of the faith. It should be rather interesting to see what happens to all the religious organizations once a lot of the stuff that Trump wants to bring up now is going to be revealed and all of this upheaval in politics occurs. It's going to change a lot of people's thinking. Okay, moving along to Thursday, December the 13th. We start in the middle of the night with Moon sextile Uranus. Moon in Aquarius, no less. So it's a very liberating aspect. Ambitious, self-reliant, imaginative. Good time to use your imagination and display your unique qualities. Benefits come from an intrinsic awareness of your unique qualities, both of you and of others. Desire to work with a group. So it's great for group activities, and you're looking for changes in the home as well. And we've got another short void, of course, until the moon enters Pisces in the morning on Thursday. So we're more sensitive and passive for the next couple of days. Once again, imaginative, artistic, and reflective, not forthright, always considering some other aspect of the situation, possibly trying to find the spiritual reasons why, kind of self-sacrificing, more in tune with the subtle vibrations around you. You may need sanctuary to get in touch with spirit. And I should have mentioned here, we're more sensitive during the time of moon in Pisces, so we need to be gentle with ourselves and with others. And then also in the morning on Thursday, we've got the moon square Mercury, so emotions get mixed with intellect. Hard to be rational. Might be tricked into agreeing with someone just to make peace, kind of surrendering your own opinions. So it's easy to get compromised by someone. In these signs, thinking expands too much, and we're confronted with things we don't know. It brings up wishful thinking, a need to go on faith. It's not a time to make decisions. Just let your mind wander into fantasy land. It can be very useful in expanding your mind to help you see beyond your current limitations. And it can get kind of critical if you allow it to do so. But just remember, the moon in Pisces is sensitive, so be gentle with yourself and others. And then in the evening, we've got the moon trine Venus, much more pleasant, especially in these water signs. Brings a pleasant disposition, very friendly and talkative. Scorpio to Pisces. Emotions go from fixed, that's Scorpio, to mutable, and that's Pisces. So emotional energy flows, and we're able to overcome emotional blockages. You know, that stuff gets really stuck in Scorpio sometimes, and that trine to Pisces is what helps it release. You can dissolve, energy dissolves into the collective. And we desire a deep, meaningful encounter with others, nothing superficial in these signs. Also in the evening, Moon squared Jupiter. Very nice, a very expansive aspect. It brings an abundance of emotional energy and endless compassion. The mood is generally good, folks are warm and generous, but sometimes the energy can come off as smug or self-righteous. Others may be put off by excessive displays like virtue signaling. As well, this one brings forth financial judgment and eating too much. We're easily deluded, desire to help others to the point of self-sacrifice, but if you don't take yourself too seriously, you can let the mind wander. I've been talking a lot about that lately, ever since Jupiter entered Sag, and we're getting all these squares to Neptune. You know, it really is a time to expand your consciousness rather than get confused. And we're just going to be getting a lot of that. And then later in the evening, something that'll get us a little more grounded, Moon sextile Saturn. We're able to balance emotional needs with duty and responsibility. We're more sensitive, not reactive. Masterful in your awareness of the situation. Responsible, able to act with greater maturity and make a contribution to society. As well, it's good for quiet time, good for reflection and meditation, and tuning out distractions, perfect for late in the evening. Okay, moving along to Friday, December the 14th. We start in the morning with the very dreamy Moon conjunct Neptune in Pisces. So we're very sensitive this morning. Go easy on others and yourself. Impressions mean more than words. At this time, you can make a positive impression on others by not approaching them forcefully or even approaching them directly. You know, you kind of want to move up like a crab, sideways. You'd be surprised how people will react if you approach them in a non-confrontational way. They'll see that you're being more aware, and they'll be more open to you. We're compassionate and forgiving, very passive. Also, it's a good time for meditation, and the Moon conjunct Neptune is like a cosmic poke on your belly button. You really feel connected to everything. It's just, I think, probably the most sensitive moment that we have all month long is that Moon conjunct Neptune. So you kind of want to take note of those. And then in the evening, we're going to have the Moon conjunct Mars. Okay, so this one's going to bring a burst of physical energy. Kind of hard to find balance. Mars is singular. It goes in one direction. Doesn't tend to see the other side. Well, that would be Libra and Venus. So it's the opposite of that. Makes us demanding, impulsive, and moody. Maybe feeling vulnerable because we're in Pisces now. Unseen issues cloud the moment. Easy to absorb and then express the anger of others. Fight battles that are not your own. That old chameleon-like behavior I've been talking about with Mars and Pisces goes from passive to aggressive. It's really not a good time for social interactions. And benefits come from directing yourself, in this case, with faith and compassion, because we're in Pisces, rather than Mars aggression. And because of the restless activity that comes with this, you know, if you really harness this, it enables you to accomplish something that you normally couldn't. Really kind of go beyond your limits. And then we're going to be having a Moon sextile Pluto in the evening. Benefits come from working with others towards a communal goal, especially in the fourth quadrant, which is the quadrant of self-transcendence. So we desire deep, meaningful encounters now, nothing superficial. We're very sensitive and feel a profound connectedness to your surroundings and to Mother Earth. That Pluto energy really helps that Moon feel connected to Mother Earth. Feelings run deep, very spiritual, can have a powerful union with your partner. Desire to merge with others can come through that sexual union as well. And it's a good aspect for resolving emotional issues. The sextile brings enlightened awareness. Regeneration around the home, fixing, repairing, and cleaning, so forth, and lots of healing energy, and we're very psychic. It brings communal healing energy. Should make for a nice Friday evening. So that's all for the aspects for this quarter. The next report will start with the first quarter moon. There's going to be no more overlapping like before. Okay, I want to do a little follow-up to my Jupiter in Sagittarius. I named a few people like Nancy Pelosi, and events went her way, and Democrats took control of the House, and Trump even stated that she deserves all the credit and that she should be elected Speaker of the House, and sure enough she was. Well, Jupiter trine Pluto will do that for you, along with the Pluto trine Uranus. And she's got Pluto trine Venus coming up on the 23rd, so she's got a lot of positive energy flowing her way these days. And I wanted to talk about Saudi Arabia because I mentioned them in my Jupiter and Sagittarius report as well, looking to see if they would be an indicator of Jupiter bringing a return to principle and morally upright behavior. Well, there have been some positive movements in that direction. Calls for the removal of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, including a call to arrest him at the G20 summit meeting to be held in Argentina. Not saying that's going to happen, but it would be quite amazing if it was. Not only was he involved with the recent murder of that guy Khashoggi at their embassy in Turkey, but he is orchestrating the biggest humanitarian disaster on the planet right now, in Yemen, where millions are starving of starvation, dying of starvation. It's terrible. I mentioned this guy, Mohammed bin Salman, because I got his chart here, and you can see on December the 26th, this month, the last pass of Neptune square Uranus. That's going to be 13 degrees, 59 minutes of Pisces, to 13 degrees, 59 minutes of Sagittarius. So Neptune square Uranus. Now this is the transit that coincided with his ruthless rise to power, and which almost killed him a few months ago at the last passes with an assassination attempt. Now at the last pass, maybe they'll find a way to get rid of him, but this time with justice. And if not now, then next year, with Uranus due to oppose his Pluto, it's going to be even harder for him to withstand. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what's going on with Saudi Arabia. And jumping over to Hillary Clinton, she got Jupiter conjunct Jupiter right at the time Jupiter entered Sagittarius, and that put a lot of emphasis on her activities, pumped them up a bit. In one story, it seemed that she was trying to start another presidential run for 2020, but now it looks like there's going to be a congressional hearing on the Department of Justice probe of the Clinton Foundation. That's the one that Huber has been conducting. And that's going to go to a congressional hearing now, and that's really good news for us patriots. This is just what we were looking for, Jupiter sending us a return or a signal that a return to justice and principle has arrived. And I'm thinking this might be the end for Hillary. On December the 31st, she's going to get Saturn square Neptune. Here we go, December the 31st. Saturn will be at 11 degrees, 20 minutes of Capricorn, and that'll square her Neptune at 11 degrees, 22 minutes of Libra. So that's going to be one pass only. Very interesting. Just a heads up out there for anyone, between 9 degrees, 9 minutes and 13 degrees, 54 minutes of Capricorn, Saturn transits are going to have one pass only, not the typical 3. So December 31st, one pass only, Saturn square Neptune. Wow. Career dissolves. That's basically what happens with Saturn square Neptune. It cuts off your connection to the collective. Really not sure of your place in the world. You kind of lose your grip on reality. And for her, that could be really devastating. Recently, there was a big event for Hillary and Bill at a large arena, and almost no one showed up. I mean, the echo from their voices was deafening as Hillary had another coughing fit. It just, like her coughing just echoed throughout this empty arena. It was so embarrassing. It was just amazing to see them sit there and sit through this. It must have been torturous. She can't even draw a crowd. No one wants to see her or hear what she has to say. It's over, and everyone is avoiding her like the plague. And this Saturn square Neptune really does that to you. It cuts you off from the collective. So this is a really tough one that she's got coming up. And we know that the hearings are going to be happening and a lot of stuff. You know, Trump, he tweeted trials for treason, and her photo is there along with Bill. I mean, it's getting pretty intense. And so we're definitely keeping an eye on her. Okay, moving along to the state of California. The recent campfire in early November devastated the town of Paradise. Looking at transits for California, we see Uranus, 29 degrees of Aries, on top of Pluto. Wow. And the Uranus quincunx Jupiter. We can't forget that. This is really interesting because we were kind of predicting a false flag event with the Uranus quincunx Jupiter aspect. And here they're getting Uranus quincunx Jupiter as a transit concurrently. That's pretty amazing. And of course, that's where the false flag occurred. So clearly a false flag event created by those direct energy weapons. In fact, there's so many links to this being a false flag event that there are literally more videos on YouTube that describe this as a false flag than there are mainstream news videos. I mean, the evidence is just overwhelming. Everyone is talking about it. And I'll leave some links in the description. So I predicted this at the quincunx, and sure enough, it happened. And it was tied into concurrent transits for the state of California. And the synchronicity between the quincunx and false flag events has encouraged me to make a special video on just that topic, because we've noted this synchronicity so many times on this channel. It's quite obvious at this point. So the last pass for Uranus return and conjunct Pluto is going to be early next year. In the meantime, coming up this week on December the 6th, so here we've got December the 6th for California, we've got Pluto square Saturn. Okay, Pluto at 19 degrees of Capricorn, going to make the last pass to natal Saturn at 19 degrees of Aries. Well, this has been a tough transit for California. It's brought a lot of confrontation with federal authorities. California is leading the charge against Trump, outright defying his authority regarding things like sanctuary cities and other issues. It makes it seem like California is going it alone these days, not a part of the collective. And just like the Saturn square Neptune for Hillary, here we've got the Pluto square Saturn. You know, it cuts you off from the collective. It makes you feel disconnected. It separates you. It brings isolation and austere times when the environment doesn't seem to provide you with enough sustenance. It feels like a struggle for your very survival. And if you talk to people in California these days, you know, we're all just amazed the state is still in one piece. This transit has separated California politically from the rest of the nation, and likely we'll see something more along those lines. You know, maybe a final resolution of the issue, a culmination, or something like that, the first week of December. Before we get to Trump, talking about Jupiter in Sagittarius. Follow up to the events at the end of November. 3 days, November 25th, 26th, and 27th. Were very big days for marking the start of the new Jupiter cycle, with Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter together in the early degrees of Sagittarius, all making conjunctions, most notably the Sun conjunct Jupiter on the 25th. And what we saw to mark the occasion was a lot of folks clamoring for justice. Everyone from the migrant caravan to the intense focus on the takedown of the deep state and all of the issues in the justice, with regards to justice in our government. And although there does not seem to be a single concrete event like the executive order when Saturn entered Capricorn, but then again that's Saturn, which is very concrete, but nonetheless it's obvious by now that a new era of justice has arrived, with both Jupiter and Saturn in their native signs. At this time, many people are experiencing events that compel us to start a new cycle, especially those caught up in the false flag attacks in California. You know, the Uranus quincunx at the moment when Jupiter entered Sagittarius really seems to have left its mark. We are all being swept along by powerful forces for change, and we may not be fully prepared. So we need to go on faith. And the element of Pisces at the start of the new Jupiter cycle is very strong, and will be so even more so next year with the Jupiter square Neptune. It's going to bring an end to many of the dysfunctional Sagittarius elements in society. A lot of that stuff is just going to dissolve. As Jupiter begins its new cycle, it's got this square to Neptune. So we're going to see a lot of the things that have been dysfunctional in Sagittarius for the last 3.5 years. This Jupiter square Neptune is going to be the one that clears a lot of them out. Okay, so now I want to talk about the transits for Donald Trump. On December the 10th, he's going to get the last pass of Saturn opposition Mercury. That'll be Saturn at 8 degrees of Capricorn, opposes natal Mercury at 8 degrees of Cancer. So for someone like him, it has been a very good transit. Although it does make you doubt your own opinions, it forces you to restructure your ideas and your politics so that you can achieve success in the long run. But as Robert Hand points out in his book Planets in Transit, this can be a time when your plans are defeated or they have their greatest concrete realization. For Trump, it looks like he's getting ready for great success. Recently, he tweeted trials for treason with pictures like Hillary and Obama, even Bill Clinton, just many others behind bars. So it looks like it's finally going to be showtime. And, you know, he's been working on this Saturn opposition Mercury for quite a while now. And we're going to see the culmination of that when a lot of authority really comes through his voice. And with major events taking a turn towards justice the last week in November, we're hearing more and more about maybe declassification of all of the evidence surrounding the Russia collusion story and what that will mean. And, you know, Trump said he's keeping it in his back pocket and waiting for the right moment to use it. And Capricorn says, I use, or I utilize. And that always has to do with the material world. But let's hope he uses that Trump card for now, this time. For patriots who've been waiting for this for a long time, for almost 2 years, a lot of stuff happens this month. And his Saturn opposition Mercury really means he's going to be speaking with a position of authority and be able to create concrete results. And I think one of the things that was standing in the way of him taking down the deep state was this guy George H.W. Bush, 41st president. And he was one really nasty fellow. He was definitely one of the heads of the deep state, and he was the one who created Bill Clinton and that whole scheme. I mean, he's done so many things. I'm going to leave some links, but I really strongly recommend you check out the true nature of this man and what it signifies by him passing away. Now, according to the press release, he died on November 30th at 10:10 p.m. Central Time. And what aspect was he getting? Transit was he getting? Neptune squaring Jupiter. Now, it wasn't exact at this time. He was coming up on the last pass, but anything between the second pass and the time it goes forward again, direct, it's ripe for resolution. So it looks like the Neptune square Jupiter. And you really got to point that one out because that's the exact same transit that John McCain, and Aretha Franklin had when they passed away. So you can see here he's got his Jupiter natally at 14 degrees of Sagittarius, and Jupiter transiting is coming up on that. So next year we're going to be getting that aspect, Jupiter square Neptune. Just keep on thinking about that one. It's going to be a lot of famous people. A lot of things are going to pass away with this Jupiter square Neptune, and this is just kind of giving us an idea. We've had 3 major deaths recently coincidental with this aspect, and we should really, think about that. All that ending that's going to be happening, all that letting go, all that dying away, the old guard, the deep state. A lot of that's going to coincide with that Jupiter square Neptune. But what makes this event so eerie is this grand cross. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I didn't at first, but then I said, wow, look at that. We've got Venus at 29 degrees Libra opposing Uranus at 29 degrees of Aries. And then look at the moon's nodes. North node at 29 degrees of Cancer and south node at 29 degrees of Capricorn. And it's all very, very close. I mean, Venus is at 29:13, Uranus is at 29:10, and the nodes at 29:12. So they're all just a couple of minutes of a degree off. That's really close. That's a grand cross with the moon's nodes. I think that's really significant. I think it has some esoteric meaning. I don't fully know how to interpret that, but I do know that the moon's nodes can be very important points for the Vatican and other players. They tend to do things on the moon's nodes, and we can sometimes see really major events associated with the Illuminati or the deep state. For some reason, they tend to use those moon's nodes. They're very important to them. And here we've got this grand cross involving the moon's nodes. Now, if you read some of the reports about the death of Bush, it says that he was McCained. That is to say, he was executed by firing squad, but it was made to look like natural causes. But at the same time, there's a lot of speculation that, he didn't really die. He just tried to pretend he was, because this would have taken a lot of steam out of Trump's train, because he's going for all these indictments now, and suddenly he has to stop and give all of this homage to a former president who was basically the guy who orchestrated all of the bad things that Trump is trying to undo. So it's a really difficult situation. But all of these planets at the 29th degree, again, that's also kind of eerie. And even he's got his natal Mercury at 29 degrees. And the following day, Mercury went at 29 degrees Scorpio, opposing his natal Mercury. And that was the day he was in the news. So that just makes it all the more eerie, with all those planets at 29 degrees. So, well, that's all for this quarter. Once again, thanks for viewing, liking, and sharing my video. I hope you're liking the new format, or how I finally settled down with it. Doing the whole thing 1 month at a time didn't get me the results I was looking for. It seems as though people are really looking for one video a week, and it just makes a lot more sense to do it with coincidental with the quarters of the moon. So, thank you very much for viewing, and be good to yourself. We really need that with all of this new moon squaring planets in Pisces. We're all going to be very sensitive. So be good to yourself. And many blessings.